The Falcons drafted Bijan Robinson 8th overall. And, it was met with mixed results. Listen, everyone knew the talent that Bijan Robinson was, but then there's also the positional value question, and running backs should never get taken that high. And I think to this point, Bijan Robinson has lived up to expectations. I think maybe some people expected a little bit more, but there's no doubt he's already one of the top running backs in the league. But the unfortunate question that we have to ask ourselves, and this was the question we kind of knew we were going to have to ask ourselves when we made the selection, is Jalen Carter, because of all the cloud and the smoke that was surrounding him about his character issues, and does he really love football? I don't know where that stuff really came. Obviously, I know where the character issues came from, but the does he really love football questions, that's always a tricky one, because it sure feels like he loves football now that he's dominating the league. He happens to fall right in the Falcons' lap. They pass on him. They went, in my opinion, I'm not going to call Bijan Robinson necessarily a bad pick. Hindsight's 2020. I would have taken Jalen Carter all day. But in my opinion, there is no doubt about it, they went the safe route. They went the how can we protect our behinds route instead of going for the how do we make our team a contender route. And, I think at the end of the day, there's a good chance Jalen Carter becomes a multiple-time All-Pro. He could be an All-Pro as a rookie. Yeah. We got a good running back. So that's a pretty big misstep, especially when the guy's sitting in your backyard. You have all the resources available to sift through this smoke and what's real and what's not, and what kind of guy this guy is. And they went the safe route. And for a Falcons team that is where they've been the last 5 years, going the safe route isn't exactly what fans wanted to see, especially Georgia fans. So I understand why people look at this move today and are a little perturbed.
Yeah, good word. And especially with the state of the Falcons pass rush, everybody's just wishing, hoping we had somebody who could win consistently. And that's what Jalen Carter's doing up there in Philly, especially with the Grady Jarrett injury. He would have just been, a heaven sent, or a godsend for this pass rush right now. But the fact of the matter is circumstances matter. And I said this when we first drafted him, even before when the Falcons drafted Bijan Robinson, that circumstances matter. The state of the Falcons organization is much different than the state of the Eagles organization, who has an established regime. They have established veterans on that team. They have an established culture. Whereas in the Falcons sense, we're still fostering that culture. We're still fostering, these young guys trying to establish a winning culture, which, we're still probably not doing too well. But listen, the fact of the matter is you can look at Jalen Carter and Bijan Robinson in terms of like stocks. Jalen Carter had a chance of busting. There's no doubt about that in terms of like the character issues and everything associated with that. But his boom made it worth it for the Eagles. Whereas the Falcons were not in a position to potentially bust on a top 10 pick. So they went the safe route. They went with the commodity that they knew was going to work out. It had the best chances of working out. Now, obviously, we sit here months down the road. Hindsight's always 2020. Everybody loves to play the what-if hindsight game as if they knew back then Jalen Carter was going to work out. And that's not to say that Jalen Carter would be having this same success in Atlanta, because Philadelphia, first of all, several of his former teammates are there. So he has several close people with ties from Athens that he can go to, he can talk to, he can hang out with, during the week, on the weekends, keeping him on the straight and narrow, whatever that might be. And then you have the actual, defensive, the actual personnel up in Philly. It is miles better than what Atlanta has. We are much better than we were last year, but that's not to say we cannot compare these Philadelphia Eagles rosters and the Atlanta Falcons rosters, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, so but with Jalen Carter, it would look a lot. They would look a lot more like formidable if you took Jalen Carter and put him on the Eagles. Just think
about who he's surrounded with on the defensive line. Fletcher Cox, Brandon
Grady Jarrett, David Onyemata, Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, Arnold.
Nobody really.
I agree.
Hassan Reddick is an absolute monster. I don't even think it's really a comparison.
It's not. It's not close. It's not close. But it's not like it's chopped liver over in Atlanta, especially if you put Jalen Carter in the middle of that.
Well, particularly with the pass rush, we are chopped liver, especially without Grady Jarrett. And I think the whole point of this, even without comparing, what he would have been in Atlanta versus what he is in Philadelphia, is the fact of the matter is the state of the Atlanta Falcons, where Arthur Smith, Terry Fontenot, Arthur Blank are as a culture, is we couldn't, just kind of flip a coin and be like, I hope Jalen Carter works out here. No, we needed something that was for sure, somebody that we could build the franchise around, and that is who Bijan Robinson is. He is the face of the franchise at this point. And I want to correct something that you said. That you said that Bijan Robinson has probably lived up to the hype, and even if he hasn't, like if you say that he hasn't lived up to the hype, it is absolutely not his fault. When he has the ball in his hands, he is one of the most dynamic players in the league. Circumstances matter. Arthur Smith matters. Desmond Ridder matters. Getting him the ball matters. So maybe he hasn't lived up in some people's eyes, but that's certainly not his fault.
No, I mean, I think Bijan Robinson is one of the top 5 running backs in the league already. And there's a lot of great running backs, but I think Bijan Robinson, he's so elusive. His contact balance, he can run through contact. He's fantastic. He's unbelievable. He's a good receiver. But at the same time, really the disappointment lies in the fact that you had Jalen Carter there and that you drafted a running back and your defense still kind of stinks, especially with this Grady Jarrett injury. So, and you just imagine how much better because the defense did look really good. Like imagine that trio. Like it could have been something to really build around. But hindsight's 2020. They went the safe route. I'm not mad about it. Not mad about it. Still love Bijan. No hate to Bijan. It has to be talked about now. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about something very disappointing, and it is those damn Atlanta Hawks.